Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mechanics of Poetry Midnight Edition. This is the second season, the famous second season, where instead of doing group discussion, we're doing one-on-one discussions of poets' poems. And this is going to be episode 2. Earlier today, we tried to do a couple of other episodes, but it didn't work out. So we're going to reschedule those poets. So this will be our episode 2. With the ever dependable Marvinlouis. Here he is now. Say what you like, Marvin.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Don. This is fun. I'm going to read 2 librettos, 3 poems. So I'll bring them up so we don't waste any time.
And we're going to look at them one at a time, of course. So I want to really get in depth with these poems.
Okay. And they're just one-page poems. Can you see it, Don?
Yeah, clear as a bell.
Okay, so Midnight Runner, first poem. The title of this libretto is called Midnight Runner.
That's a good choice for right now.
I wrote it today.
Oh my God.
This is specifically for tonight. Midnight Runner, Bobby John Press for the libretto.
Okay.
Poem. I'm drifting across an orange sky, green tumbleweeds at my feet. I'm sifting through my open mind. How many times can a heart stop beating? It's hard keeping track when silent notes are meant not to be heard. It's an early bird fighting with the worm, or is it a snake? That's the first one.
Okay. Well, I'm very familiar with your poetry, so it's going to be easy for me to have something to say here. For those who are not familiar with Marvin's poetry, if you take a good look here, you'll find some interesting effects. For example, in the first stanza, I'm drifting across an orange sky. Now, you're not necessarily expecting an orange sky. So is that surrealism? Is that imagination? Is that symbolic? Right? You have to go into the poem to see what happens. Green tumbleweeds at my feet. I guess commonly tumbleweeds are not green. So that again has some kind of connotation. And this is where in the second stanza, maybe we get the answer to that. It says, I'm sifting through my open mind, definitely open to see orange sky and green tumbleweeds. Yeah. How many times can a heart stop beating? Now, this is really a great turn. This is something that Marvin does very well. I mean, he'll set you up and he'll knock you down. It's really awesome. It's hard keeping track, right? So very strong philosophical bent in Marvin's poetry. He's really questioning the meaning of life. And then he says, when silent notes are meant not to be heard. So paradox, that's a paradox. And Marvin is the master of paradox, that's for sure. You'll find, he just comes up with these, they're just amazing. I don't know how he does it. Feel free to chime in if you want to reveal how you do that. And the last stanza, it's an early bird fighting with a worm, or is it a snake? So that is a mysterious ending. It's like every time I read one of Marvin's poems, I feel like I'm experiencing what Marvin's mind is experiencing at that moment. And it's such a conundrum. It's such a wonderful mystery to try to solve. And sometimes it's easier to solve, sometimes it's harder. And this one, it's not totally solved, and I'm okay with that. I really am. I like that duality at the end. Fighting with a worm, which is what the early birds do, or is it a snake? And ooh, that's the other side of the coin. Yeah. Early life or early death. That's okay. That's good fascination. Let's go to the second poem.
Picture. I had written something and I lost it, so I had to write this over again. And I liked the poem, but I think I like the first one that I lost a little better. It's gotten darker. I've parked myself somewhere outside of me. Pre-night vision, barely visible. If it's so damn simple, why do we have to think?
Okay, I like to think that the people reading your poetry right now are catching on to some of these marvelous elements in your poetry. All right, we have the setup. It's gotten darker. I've parked myself, and that's an interesting turn of phrase. You don't hear that every day. Somewhere outside of me. All right, good. We're getting existential here. Oh, yes. Pre-night vision, barely visible. So we got to try to solve the mystery in the last stanza.
Right.
If it's so damn simple, why do we have to think? That is just trademark Dorsey philosophy, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. This is one of the primary reasons that I encourage people to get Marvin's librettos, because on the surface you would think they're pretty simple, but oh yeah, there's a lot going on. Definitely. We're going to read one more
Yeah,
just to finish the sampling.
yeah, I'm gonna read from Falling in Love. I'll just read the first poem there.
So yeah, you got to take away this share and then bring
Okay.
up the other share. That's the way to do it, I think. Try it. Go ahead and take away this share. Yeah, good man. And then bring up your other one so it's on screen and then share it. I think that'll work. Yes, it does.
It's called Falling in Love. It has nothing to do with falling in love, this libretto, but we're gonna read the first poem. In the backyard of my mind, where time is blind as a bat, where sitting still is called abnormal, I'll be me, remain strange, walking across this page with 4 more broken fingers in my front pocket.
Oh yeah. Hey, this is really what I thought when I was reading this poem. I was thinking, hey, people, if you don't like this, you don't like poetry. Really. I mean, look at this. This one, I mean, the first two are great, but this one might even be, well, it's equally strong, if not stronger, because it says, in the backyard of my mind, okay, we're already getting surreal, where time is blind as a bat. Wonderful turn of phrase there. Have you ever heard that before? Where sitting still is called abnormal. All right, so we're set up. I'll be me, remain strange. Walking across this page, which is utterly delightful surprise. That's what you want in a poem. You want to surprise the reader. Well, I think there's a workshop by Nancy Wu, surprise the reader, or something like that. With 4 more broken fingers. Oh my God, how devastating, in my front pocket. So it makes you wonder, you know, that's the mystery that you try to solve in a good poem. And here, I harken back to the start, which is a very good sign. If you're reading a poem and you want to harken back to the start to piece together meaning, that's a sign that you've got a good poem. In the backyard of my mind, where time is blind as a bat. Okay, so there's your major clue. And maybe it can never be solved, but it's definitely painful. Definitely painful. You want to say something about it? Go ahead, Marvin.
No, I really don't, because I don't. You know.
Okay. You let the poems do the talking.
You know what? Earlier we were talking about that, and you were talking about how you just give into your muse.
Mm-hmm.
I guess when you do that, there's not much you can say about it because your muse wrote it or inspired it.
That's a fantastic point. It really is. Yeah. I try to do that. You know, I try to do that. I'm writing a poem and the poem is going and the poem ends and I'm thinking to myself, is that it?
Right.
So then I retune the antenna, try to receive some more, you know?
Yeah.
And I get strange stuff that way.
You know what? I've made that a habit of mine to one that, I get to a point where I think it's done to see if I can get something else out, or maybe just walk away from it for a minute and come back. But yeah, I've made that a habit. Can I stop sharing?
Yeah, because we're done with that. And all I need to do to finish off this episode, which is marvelously brief,
Yeah.
painless for anyone to get into poetry with this episode. How can people see more of your poetry?
You know what? I honestly, I don't know. I am on Facebook.
Do you publish your poetry there?
I do. That's the best place to see my librettos, my poetry right now, because we have the one book coming out sometime in the near future, and we have a bunch of hard copies of librettos. But I don't know.
Let me ask you this question. Here's a probing question. I'm with the same publisher, Cyberwit. So I just talked to someone else who was published by Cyberwit, Bill Cushing.
Okay.
He's got his books. So I asked him, well, how long did it take for them to arrive? And, he ordered like, I don't know, 20 books.
Wow.
And he said they arrived in 2 weeks.
Wow.
But he heard about people who individually ordered books and it took up to a month.
Wow.
So it may be a difference in mailing, if you're mailing one item or if you're mailing bulk.
Bulk, right.
It's different.
You haven't gotten yours yet?
So I haven't gotten mine yet, but it hasn't been that long. It hasn't been 2 weeks since I paid for the books. So I'm anticipating they'll arrive next week.
I haven't heard
September.
from him. I haven't heard from that guy since, but he's probably busy, and the libretto book might be a little more not difficult, but might be different than he's been working with before. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if anything, if anybody caught that when you were watching us going through Marvin's poems, you saw the photography there. Marvin is just as creative with the photography as he is with the poetry, and they really go together. They're inspirational to each other. Can almost call Marvin an effective poet, but he's got his own ideas. But I was going to say one more thing. Hopefully, based on that timeline, you're going to have your book in October is what I'm hoping.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. And there's one other poet I know published by Cyberwit, Joan McNerney in New York.
Oh yeah, the love poem, the Love to Michael book, right?
Yeah, she she posted her cover on Facebook. So I don't know if she has actually received any books yet.
Okay.
But it's looking good. It's looking good. Like this guy, he's following through. He seems to be following through, and he's very good at communicating an email.
Yes.
So I would recommend cyberwit.net if you're looking to publish a book and get it out there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
This guy seems to be the real deal, right? It's not a scam. He doesn't require that you buy books.
Yeah, which is
of your own volition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't want this to go too long. I want to thank you, Marvin, for this very special midnight episode. Say whatever you like to sign off.
Good night.
And that's a good note there. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.